These podcasts have one thing that we ask everybody. We have barely bounced off the meniscus of the pond in terms of some of the toughest situations that you've been through, which have been exceptional, and you've overcome them all. But if you were to pick one, Steve, what do you think has been the toughest moment of your life so far, and how did you overcome it?
I think that it's the one that we talked about, but because pure and simple, I didn't overcome it. Sal did. I think I'll move on and give you another one if that's okay. So this was another expedition that I was doing in Venezuela. We were attempting to make the first summit of a tepui, a flat sandstone-sided massif, which was kind of like a fortress. The whole mountain had never been climbed before, and it was 600 meters of vertical sandstone. It was really, really serious climbing, and we just bit off more than we could chew. We got, I would guess, 150 meters up the side of this thing, and chunks were falling off it. And it kind of looked like someone had just thrown Castrol GTX all over the side of the rock face. It was slick and black and nasty. And we had a storm come out of nowhere. We're on the equator, and it was like being in the North Sea. Our kit was just being tossed around all over the place. We had rain lashing down onto the rock face, very, very high winds. And so myself and my climbing partner decided that we were gonna get down to our midpoint camp as fast as we could. And our midpoint camp was portaledges. We were actually on like tea trays, kind of, stuck into
anchored into the wall.
Yeah, exactly. And as I started descending, my boots hit a piece of rock that was the size of a fridge freezer, and it just wobbled once and then fell. And Aldo, my expedition partner, was directly below me. And I can remember, again, it's one of those things where your life flashes before your eyes. I can remember the millisecond of just that tiny creak as the rock moved in towards the rock face, and I could tell that it was going to go. And the processing of Aldo's below me, this is definitely going to kill him. I will have done this. This will be my fault. I am going to have to go back to his family and tell them what I've done, and I'm going to have this hanging over me for the whole of the rest of my life. My clumsiness, my heavy-footedness, my rushing when I should be checking myself and telling myself to slow down has killed my friend. And it was a horrific millisecond. Now, as it happened, the rock slid off and it fell. Aldo called rock, slammed himself in against the rock face. Remarkably, my cameraman had hung his camera up on the rock face, and it's got this amazing shot of Aldo just pressing his face against the rock, and you can see stuff falling down behind him, and it missed him and he survived. But just the utter horror of somebody else's life being at risk because of me was so much worse than any near-death experience I've had to myself. It's the feeling of just absolute. I mean, I'm feeling physically sick telling this to you now. I can just recall how utterly sickened I was by what nearly happened. And again, it's just one of those things where we just found out. I mean, typical expedition team, we all sat around that evening and we just made a joke out of it, and we just laughed about it non-stop for hours and hours afterwards. But it was not funny. There was nothing funny about it. And that is one of the few expeditions that we have actually called and all just sat around and gone, no, if we carry on with this, someone is definitely going to die. It's only an expedition. It's not worth it. And called it and turned back. And I am so glad that we did.